Another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show for a fantastic Fan Friday. Justin Fan back in the house. 6 games on the slate, so good chance we can keep this under an hour. We'll see, though. Justin, how are you feeling about your return today in the 6-game slate ahead of us?
Yeah, I mean, not a big coincidence that I saw 6 games on the schedule, and I was like, "Yes, I am in for this show." So this is my type of slate, perfect sizing for me. So yeah, glad to be back on with you boys and talk through the slate. The line's looking a little iffy today, but we'll do our best to get there.
As always, Mike, how are you feeling about the 6-gamer today?
Pretty good. Yeah, not too many Q tags. 10 total. Mostly are insignificant. So should be under an hour. So Fan, you don't want to do the April 9th slate, the Tuesday slate where they have 14 teams playing the day after the NCAA title game. You don't want to join in for a special edition that day.
I think I'm good, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Fans put me down for the 8th. I'll be available for the 8th. All right, let's get into the game by game stuff. Let's start with Miami and Detroit. On the Miami side of things, Bam Adebayo listed probable with a lower back contusion here. Caleb Martin listed available with a left thumb sprain. They're still without Tyler Hero, Kevin Love, Josh Richardson. Justin, what are your notes here on the Miami Heat?
Yeah, Bam Adebayo probable. We would expect him to go. Didn't get too much detail from the Heat beat guys on his status, but it just assumed this is a minor tweak and he'll play through it. So not too concerned about him sitting out here. We'll note that Detroit has been a lot better since the All-Star break in terms of defense. They were among the league worst before the All-Star break. They're closer to like league average now. So this matchup is like good, but not great for Bam. Don't really want to attack him too much today. Their overall defense has gotten better. Their efficiency allowed to opposing centers has gotten better. Better is relative. It's league average more now. They've been really good on the glass too. The Pistons have. I think they're one of the best rebounding teams over the last 5-10 games. The rim defense is better. So, just with Bam possibly being a little bit limited in, the spot with this back thing and the Pistons being better overall, probably better spots to attack here, if you're looking at the Heat.
Yeah, 15th on defense since the break. The rim defense, as you mentioned, significantly up, and their point guard handling defense has gone way up. However, they haven't had too many like really strong pick and roll handler guards. So the improvement on defense, I think, is a little schedule tied, but they're not like, oh my God, we're playing the Pistons, we have to jam over is bad anymore. So I'm with you there. And one thing I want to highlight, there was an article from Ira Winderman talking about like more minutes for Jimmy, but we got to talk about Jimmy, man. He has not been very good. And you can make a case. I know this is like the big thing we're talking about now with the lack of free throws. That's really hurting him. His free throw rate is way down this month. So he's going to have Isaiah Stewart on him again, who kind of limited him last game. Like Jimmy's struggled with the size and not having the free throws to hang his hat on has like struggled. And like you were saying, we'd be like, oh my God, I'd want to play Jimmy bad here. We'd be like, oh yeah, possible flag plant. But like, I don't know. Rozier's roll's been really strong. Bam's touches are back up after dipping. So the roll coming around should be good to go. And then, is this Jovic thing over or what? Like, you're losing 4 games. You got to stop playing around. Start playing Caleb more. So they can't lose these games anymore. Like, after losing to the Wizards at home, like, they can't fool around, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut this rotation down and just, like, make sure they get this game.
Yeah, not on front end or back end of back-to-back. So, schedule clean here for Miami to potentially tighten that rotation. We'll see if it happens. Let's move to Detroit, where Cade Cunningham is questionable with left knee injury management tag. Quentin Grimes out with right knee soreness, and Oscar Thompson still out. It's listed as illness medical, but he was listed with asthma previously. Justin, I'll start with you. As the Cade Cunningham fan club conductor here, you and Mike Gallagher, questionable tag on the injury management. Will we see Cade tonight?
I think we just like hate over Jalen Suggs. I think this is the biggest point of contention between our camps.
Don't disrupt my propaganda campaign, my misinformation campaign. I just seep it into the audience's subconscious that you guys are Cade Cunningham fans, and then over time I bring it back against you. So don't derail me here.
I see your game. I see right through it, Dink. I know what you're doing. I think the long game here. You just flown these things out there, not really saying it's your real opinion and just kind of test the waters. It's a safe space here, though. You can throw it out there. I love Jalen Suggs' game, so no pushback here. But I think the big story here is obviously Cade. We saw last game, didn't play the final 15 minutes of that game. The post-game comments were very curious from Monty Williams. Said after just decided to roll with the group that built the lead. He said Cade was going to sub back in, but Marcus Sasser hit a dagger three, and Cade came back to the bench. He said Cade told him to let Sasser finish the game. And then, okay, sure, we get all that. And then we get the injury report for the next game, and Cade pops up questionable with injury management on a non-back-to-back game. So this all smells really fishy to me. I did a little digging on this. So Cade has popped up on the injury report 10 times this season with injury management with that knee. 9 times he was probable and played. The only time he popped up on the injury report with injury management and didn't play was when he was initially listed questionable. He's listed questionable today. So just kind of given the totality of the circumstances here, it does feel very fishy to me and very likely. I wouldn't say like likely in terms of like, I think it's 75% chance he sits, but like this is like a true 50%, 40% maybe that Cade doesn't play here, or that Cade plays here rather. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he sits this one out. It's a little curious, like I said, why he was held out the last 15 minutes, why he pops up on the injury report questionable the next game. So I would guess Marcus Sasser would get the start for Cade if he ends up sitting out. One interesting rotation wrinkle we saw last game was Amude was clearly the choice over Evan Fournier in the second half. He was in ahead of him. Fournier didn't play at all in the second half, and Monty said afterwards that it was a coach's decision. So it makes it clear to me that Sasser, I think, would be the guard of choice if Cade ends up sitting out. Last time was Killian Hayes. Obviously, he's not on the roster anymore. So, I think that's kind of where I want to start with the Pistons here and Cade.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, as you mentioned, the corner three from Sasser, you're going to sit your number one pick. Like, come on, buddy. So, yeah, you kind of had everything. I don't have anything left in the kitty there. So, bad matchup for Jaden Ivey. Good rim defense. Miami's rim defense has been really, really good for the last month and a half. And then Duren on the flip side, coming off a massive, massive game. Little going against Kelly Olynyk and no verticality versus Bam, who is just A+. We saw what he did to Joker last game, so really tough matchup for Duren. But yeah, I'm expecting if Cade sits, it's got to be Sasser, right? Like if you're going to close with him over Cade, it's a pretty ringing endorsement that he would start. So I'm kind of with you there.
I've been unfortunately watching a lot of Detroit basketball of lately due to DFS and bets and whatnot. And I will just say the Fournier benching was long overdue.
Yeah.
Fournier's been out there playing as if he's like Nick Young in a rec YMCA league. He's taking some of the most egregious shots out of the flow of the offense. Just going full Leroy Jenkins as he hasn't played all year and just like diving in there and like, nope, I'm throwing it up Philip Seymour Hoffman, Kobe style. It's been bad. All right.
One more thing to add, if I can, we haven't seen on top of just the last game from Cade, and Dink knows this. I've liked Cade. I've written up Cade positively for a while now. Just the minute ceiling hasn't been there. Earlier when the Pistons were bad and they would every once in a while have a close game, we would see Cade get 36, 37. That hasn't been there. So again, this is something that it feels like we haven't got any commentary from Monty other than okay, I'm going to sit him, but we didn't get maybe this thing is. It has to be right. If you're going to list him as questionable for a non-back-to-back, it's clearly something that's keeping his minutes down. So that's the only thing. And then Simone Fontecchio is playing a ton, not getting big minutes young at a Duren. And then James Wiseman just absolutely destroyed Jonte Porter in the second of the last game. Just verticality from centers is just the jam against the Raptors as we talked about last time.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned the minute ceiling. One day, Cade might show the minute ceiling of Simone Fontecchio.
All right, let's move to Phoenix and Charlotte. Phoenix on the second night of back-to-back here. They have a condensed schedule. I believe they play again on Sunday, so a 3-4 here. They're trying to get as many wins as they can to stay out of the play-in. I selfishly was hoping we might get a Kevin Durant on an injury report at some point here for my best ball teams to avoid him continuing to pile up points on me. But Eric Gordon listed probable after missing last night's game. Josh Okogie out here. Those are the only notes. No one else listed on a back-to-back here. So all looks good for the Suns. Gallagher, your hometown team. Yeah. What are your notes on Phoenix?
I was looking for a Devin Booker tag. He stepped on Xavier Tillman's foot yesterday, rolled his ankle, was limping for a couple of possessions, but he's good to go. Wasn't the same ankle that he kept out, so it should be good. Kept him up to 38 minutes, but it was a pretty easy 38. Like, he wasn't really putting a lot of energy, so I think he could play a pretty good bit. Kevin Durant got cut for garbage time. Nurk was pretty active early, wasn't closing because they were trailing, so he looked like he had a lot of energy. I talked about last time how I was so curious that he lost closing minutes to Drew Eubanks in a close game the last time. So that was odd. Royce O'Neal gets 5 wide open threes and misses them all. It's a tough scene for our over. And then, yeah, that's pretty Ish Wainwright was in the rotation yesterday. That was a little bit weird. Curious to see if he kind of sticks. I thought he was pretty good in the time he was out there. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, they got to get a win here. They're slipping down the standings. This is kind of tough scene. Bradley Beal still driving, even with Booker back. His role's been pretty strong. Great matchup for Beal. They're gonna put their best 2 defenders. I would expect Miles Bridges to guard Durant, and then Brandon Miller to guard Devin Booker. So could be a Bradley Beal game with pretty strong minutes. And again, he's driving, and the touches have been pretty strong.
Yeah, a couple notes here. Eric Gordon, before yesterday's game, said that by the time I come back, it won't be 100%, revealing, talking about that injury. So would expect his minutes to be lower 20s. Nothing too crazy. Took Grayson Allen down about a minute and a half from the previous projection, with Eric Gordon looking like he's going to be back in the mix. We'll note that the Hornets defense has actually been pretty solid as of late. Top 10 post break, top 5 or last 5 games. They're one of the biggest weak spots is on the glass, though. So really good spot for Jusuf Nurkic here. Yep. Curious about Jusuf Nurkic's minutes, because I kind of looked back at all the back-to-backs that Phoenix has played this season. He's only played 28 plus minutes in both legs once. And that was back on December 12th and December 13th. Yesterday, massive first half workload. He played 20 minutes in the first half yesterday. Like Mike mentioned, sat the fourth quarter due to blowout. But really curious about where his minutes land today. There's some kind of circumstantial stuff in there. It went through the game logs. There's some blowouts there. We didn't play a lot in one leg, but really good matchup for him. But I am a little curious about where those minutes actually land. I have him, I think, like 28-ish today. I think that was my initial.
That's exactly what we have.
But yeah.
Where'd you come down on Gordon? We got Gordon. I think we landed at 22 and a half. I kind of want to come down more.
Yeah, I'd probably go like 21 and a half. I'm just really curious with that quote, him kind of outright saying that he's not going to be 100%. So
yeah. And then, as you mentioned, with the Hornets defense, 29th since the break in offense, but first in half-court defense. They've been running hot. Their 3-point, they're giving up decent amount of open threes and just not going in. So a little bit lucky, but being first, hey, you're first in half-court defense. That's more than luck.
Yeah, and I'll just note, Nurkic conditioning issues have been an issue for his whole career. So the back-to-back stuff is not just specific to this year. In his career, on 90 back-to-backs, he's averaged 1.5 fewer minutes per game than his seasonal average. So just in general, you usually see lower minutes on him on a back-to-back, but obviously, and Charlotte can go small too, is the other part of this. So minutes are definitely a question. Production per minute should be very good for Jusuf Nurkic tonight. Let's move to the Charlotte side of things, where they're still without LaMelo Ball, Leaky Black, Marcus Bolden, Seth Curry, Cody Martin, Bryce McGowan, Mark Williams. Are we going to see LaMelo Ball or Mark Williams again this season? Is it? I mean, there's been no report. I haven't seen any reporting that suggests any timeline, but they also haven't been ruled out for the season, to my knowledge. Or am I missing something there on those two guys, Justin?
It's a very on-brand Hornets thing to just keep listing these guys questionable or out, game to game. Mark Williams had a setback. I think that was like the last update we heard. It didn't sound very good. Not much for this team to play for anymore. So just kind of pack it in and get ready for next season. So yeah, I think you were going to have the same group today without McGowan's as well. And two guys I want to kind of spotlight here and talk about is the first being Grant Williams. Obviously still a really big role for him off the bench. This is a game flow where he should play a good amount with him expected to be playing from behind. And the usage for him the last 2 games has been insane, 29% usage in 2 straight games for him. So I think he's kind of interesting, on the Hornets side. And then we saw Micic, the big kind of thing we were watching is, what does his production look like when Trey Mann is back in the lineup? And the answer was a resounding, he's still has a really good role. So, with Trey Mann, he hasn't actually posted that big a usage. Like he's a relatively mid to low usage guy, especially you're looking at how many guys they're missing right now. It is a pretty good opportunity for Trey Mann to get shots up, but he's been like mid-teens usage pretty consistently. So he hasn't cut into Mitric kind of, as much as maybe you would think. So I think Mitric and Grant Williams are two that I'm looking at here. Obviously, things go through Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller, but that's going to be the story of the rest of the season.
Yeah, it looks like Poku's in the mix, and just to add to the Micic, they like almost split the touch time, but it was just Micic setting up the actions. He had 23 half-court points. The only players that average more than 23 half-court points are Joker, Embiid, and Luka. So, I mean, to get 23 points in half-court is like pretty insane for a player who was out of the rotation. It's pretty nuts. So just a really awesome game from Micic there. But yeah, I think Poku's going to get a look. We'll see if he can kind of stick around. We saw Clifford say they're going to kind of like not play him, but it looks like and I thought they were going to play Nick Smith Jr. There was commentary like 2-3 games ago saying like, oh yeah, we got to give minutes, and then like, okay, no. So maybe a little bit of Poku season. All these ex-Thunder guys getting minutes.
Yeah, we'll just note on Trey Mann, the box score looks really bad. He had 8 potentials. He converted 0. Micic had 13 potentials. He converted 8. So Micic certainly the favorite for ball handling responsibilities, but the box score looks worse than it was for Trey Mann in this game from a box score perspective.
It was split like 50-50. The touch time was like 0.3 edge to Micic.
Yeah. And Micic, like if I'm thinking through just watching them, Micic is much more comfortable in the half court. He's obviously played a lot of high level professional basketball outside of the US, which is a lot of half court stuff. The NBA is a little bit more full court transition oriented than some of the other leagues around the world. And Trey Mann is a little bit more comfortable in kind of get the ball and go off the rebound and try to push. So I think you'll see some of that continue. Let's move to Orlando and Toronto. On the Orlando side, injury report pretty clean here, just without the G Leaguers. So Gallagher, any notes on the Magic?
No, healthy as it can be. Don't really have anything other than I think they absolutely destroy this team. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm pretty close to doing it. That's like my closest spread bet I'm taking today. But yeah, just A+ matchup for Paolo. A really strong matchup for Franz Wagner. We know we love weak rim defenses for Franz to go. They're one of the weakest now. Then Gary Harris is locked in, man. Got a lot of comments from Jamal Mosey that he's trusted. He'll bury shots and guard. Jalen Suggs will be guarding Emmanuel Quickley, Jalen Suggs' defense has been really, really good, man. To go back to, I got your propaganda for your Dink here.
Thank you.
So yeah, Jalen Suggs has been really good.
My sleeper cell agents, I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, he's been great. So yeah, just Suggs and Gary Harris have been too good to take him out of the lineup. So our Magic look like they're looking pretty good as Miami's slipping, and we're not getting any minutes stealing out of Markelle Fultz anymore. Pretty much it. And, so we talked about Jalen Duren smashing the Raptors. A little bit different. Wendell Carter Jr. doesn't have that interior game. He's kind of like pick and poppy. So this isn't like as great of it's still a good spot, but it's not like as good as it was for Duren.
All right, let's move to the Raptors side of things. Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Chris Boucher, DJ Carton, Mohamedou Gueye, Jakob Poeltl all listed out. Gary Trent Jr. listed questionable here with the right growing strain. Notable that Emmanuel Quickley is not on the injury report this go around. Justin, I'll start with you. What are your notes here on the Raptors?
Yeah, would expect Trent Jr. to miss again. He's been questionable heading into last 2 games with this groin injury before being ruled out. And then he was curiously downgraded from questionable to doubtful last game on Wednesday too. So haven't really heard many positive updates for him. And I don't think there are any big rush to be playing Gary Trent Jr. at this junction in the season. So I think he has a good chance of missing his 3rd straight, I believe. So yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in the Raptors here. The Magic have consistently been one of the best defenses in the league all season long. The headliners here continue to be IQ and Kelly Olynyk. I don't really have too much interest in any other guys. IQ, really good return. He was, I think, questionable heading last game and then ended up playing 36 minutes. So it doesn't look like he's capped at all. Really good sign for him. But yeah, the Magic have been really, really solid, with Suggs and Gary Harris, Franz Wagner. I mean, there's not a defense you really want to attack here. So not too much interest on this Raptor side in general.
Yeah, I'll highlight IQ a little bit more if I can. 36 minutes, had that 25, 5, and 8 line, 15 potential assists, 16 drives, 8 minutes of touch time. That's like A-plus role. But Jalen Suggs is really good. Kelly Olynyk doesn't have like a big role if you look at like the touches and all that, but he just cashes in. Like whenever he touches the basketball, it's a dime, it's a board, it's a point. Like he is like fantasy point per touch. He's like Embiid like at this rate. But yeah, so that's kind of all I got. As you mentioned, I want no interest in any of these other guys. The Magic are one of the best teams at taking away catch and shoot stuff. So, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know how they're gonna slow down Paolo and Franz with this lack of defense. And should also note, Darko wants to play Grady Dick more. I'm not sure if Dink is gonna go nuts with the Dink puns on Dick later, but I will be tuning into the DFS show for sure.
Yeah, a lot of Dick talk later, Friday night, 5 o'clock Eastern, if you're looking for Dick talk. Let's move to Denver and San Antonio. I'm going to skip the Clippers and New Orleans. We'll wait for that game until after the 2:30 to see if we get any news from the Clippers on a filing. But let's go to Denver and San Antonio. On the Denver side, nothing coming up on the injury report here. Gallagher, I saw you leave a note in Slack about Michael Malone's comments on Nikola Jokic minutes. So why don't you start with the Nuggets here?
Yeah, so we saw Jamal Murray not close in the last game. They went with Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson was playing really well. And KCP and Jamal Murray were at the table, and they said, hey, leave him in there. Let him do his thing. Reggie Jackson was really slumping. And they talked about them, being a family. Mike Malone says he has 2 girls and 18 boys for his roster. That was a really good Malone quote. Malone's got bars, man. And then he also said that, so that was what he was like, oh, this is a great way to bring Jamal's minutes down. Jamal was playing a ton. I think he had averaged 39 this month, 1 overtime game. Before this game, they brought him down. And he said he wants to bring Joker's minutes down. Joker's playing a lot right now. So they were like, oh, yeah, it's great if you get number 1 seed. We want to take care of these guys. So on top of the spread here, we took another minute. We took a minute off Joker. I think they do want to bring him down. So watch out for the Joker upside. Probably going to be guarded by Wemby. I don't think he's going to guard him. We'll talk about that in a second. So just something to note. And then the other thing, as we've been talking about, we talked about this the last time we did the Denver pod. Are they just going to go small in the second unit? And we saw a lot of that last time. I think that's kind of going to stick. So Zeke Naji, DeAndre Jordan are like going to be phasing out because, as I mentioned the last time, he wants to play Holiday, and the easiest way to do that is to take out the centers. So I expect that to be pretty sticky the rest of the way. And I think they're going to steal the Rockets' game plan and put like a wing. I don't know how you feel about this, fan. If they're going to put like Aaron Gordon in the Dylan Brooks role, I think that's the plan. Last time they played, they didn't have Aaron Gordon in that game, and there's actually looking at the tracking stuff, it was Michael Porter Jr. who was guarding Wemby more. So I think Aaron Gordon's going to stick that matchup today. So tough spot for Gordon to be able to handle him. Anything you want to add there?
No, I think they should just be sitting Jokic for the rest of the regular season for our win totals bet. That's kind of all I'm
yeah.
Yeah, they're charging towards that win total line pretty convincingly here down the stretch. I've got my hopes pinned, as you'd imagine, on Nikola Jokic for my one best ball sweat the rest of the way. So we're hoping for 2 big games to close it out. But I do think I'm interested to see if more teams attempt to guard Wemby in the way that the Rockets have, which has been successful in 2 games now with Dylan Brooks, whether it's Gordon or KCP, just somebody who has active hands, because really the only weakness in Wembanyama's game right now is his ball possession and ball security. And so if you're going to slow him down in any way, shape, or form, that's the hope. You're not going to contest him with size and length anyway. So like you might as well just get somebody who has active hands and be a little bit of a pest on him. And I'm interested to see if teams continue to take that tactic, because Houston has had success in consecutive performances against Wembanyama with that, just kind of slowing him down. San Antonio side here, nothing substantial on the injury report. Jetty Osman is out with a left ankle sprain, and then it's a bunch of G Leaguers listed here. Justin, do you have any notes on the Spurs?
Kellen Johnson not on the IR today due to illness. Took him off a couple minutes. So I think I have him at like 28 and a half. Last time I checked, he's usually been in like the 30-ish range. So it took a little off his minutes in his return. But yeah, not too much else to talk about here. I mean, obviously some matchup stuff, but it's been pretty consistent, just kind of with who's been available and in the rotation.
Yeah, they snuck in some Sandro Mamakavashvili without Keldon the last time.
So James Harden questionable, Kawhi not on the injury report.
Yep. Left shoulder strain for Harden. We can go back to
All
that.
right, well let's go there. Let's go there. Unless you've got more Mama Kalashvili. Drop there.
Yeah, I disagree with Fan that the illnesses, man. We've seen sustained minutes being capped with illnesses, so just be careful with anything Keldon.
Yeah.
I took a couple of minutes. I have him at like 28 and a half. Yeah, I took a couple minutes off.
I have him in the industry pickup season long league that I'm in the semis with, and you have a games limit that you can use during the week, and I'm debating heavily whether to use a game on him tonight.
I wouldn't.
Tough matchup, and the illness tag that he's over is a little bit concerning. Okay, let's move to that Clippers Pels game that we were waiting for that information. Justin, you broke it here with Kawhi not listed and James Harden questionable. James had kind of hinted on some uncertainty as his availability for today. Super durable player throughout his career. I was surprised last weekend on the back-to-back when he played both ends of that. Yeah. He was questionable on both ends, and it looks like he's paying the price maybe now. What are your notes or expectations on the Clippers, who played really well last night in Chicago? Even without James Harden, they shot 60% from the field, 50% from three, just bombs away for their main guys out there. What are your notes on the Clippers today?
Yeah, that was Harden's first missed game, I believe, as a Clipper. So he's been extremely durable. The comment yesterday that he said he's uncertain is not generally the best sign, because players, when you kind of ask them if they're going to play, they're generally optimistic. That's the general line. So him missing a game, it had to be something that bothered him. So I think he's probably a true 50-50 today. We'll probably want to go and lean that way, but we'll see. Kawhi not being on the injury report is pretty promising, honestly, and a little surprising because he didn't look totally himself yesterday. And the comments from him afterwards about what kind of the process was to get him ready for this game. I just thought he'd be on the injury report heading into today. So him being off is pleasantly surprising. And this is a massive game for the Clippers against the Pelicans here. So would expect pretty full workloads from Kawhi, from PG. And PG specifically, I want to highlight, especially if Harden's out. We got comments from Ty Lue afterwards, after last night's game, that they're going to emphasize getting the ball in his hands the rest of the season, specifically having him run more pick and rolls. So I think PG is a guy that you kind of want to attack if you're looking at the Clippers today. I think his role is going to be very, very solid the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they handle the matchups with Herb. So the last game, they put Herb on Harden. So now he's probably, do you put Herb on him regardless? Like, I kind of think you do. So that's a little bit of a concern. But so it's kind of weird. I talked about this last time with Mitchell or Garland. Like, okay, if Donovan Mitchell's playing, like, okay, that means Mitchell's going to get Herb, but it'll help. So that's it kind of worked out for him. So it's kind of the same. But I mean, PG's just cooking, man. Like his spot up game last day was so good. We had a Kawhi under that we got hooked on and got pulled right after. God. But man, they were just leaving Paul George open. Like classic Bulls. They don't care, man. They will put two on the ball and trust them to make the pass. What are we doing here? So I don't know. That's a little bit of it. But yeah, Paul George is cooking. His jump shot's on fire. The pick and roll handling's up a little bit in his last two games in particular. So I'm with you there. I think I put Paul George for a great matchup here. I'm hoping he doesn't get hurt, but if he does get hurt, I would downgrade him though.
And I would just note that in conjunction, if we're looking at tonight's a no late swap slate on DraftKings, and so some of these issues are going to come to fruition in terms of being able to play or lean or take advantage. The notes that we have so far that you guys have just run down for me on James Harden expressing some uncertainty about being able to play today. The coach talking about Paul George having a more ball handling role kind of going forward. Those two comments in conjunction for me are like, maybe they're expecting to not have James Harden for a little bit. I would also note that this is their 5th game in 7 days. Yep. So we've talked about this a lot lately with condensed schedules. They had been kind of cruising for a long period of time without a lot of back-to-backs. Now 5th game in 7 nights. Not for everybody, I think, because Kawhi and PG got a game off, and obviously Harden's now gotten a game off. So I think for most of these guys, it's their 4th. But as a team, it's their 5th game in 7 days, and that's a lot. It's been travel oriented too. They started this back-to-back in LA, then went to Chicago, and now to New Orleans. So it's not the easiest spot for the Clippers to go into New Orleans. And New Orleans just dealt with one of these last week with the game in Indiana where they had the travel issues as well. So we're coming up on some of these 5 and 7s. Want to highlight when we see them. New Orleans.
I do want to add really quick. I just want to hit Bones just because he had a really big game. A little hot on the dimes, but led the team in drives, led the team in touch time. He was pretty damn good. Beat our minutes. We were a little bit worried he was going to get to 30, and he was awesome. Just shout out to Bones.
All right, New Orleans side of things, they're just without Dyson Daniels, so no other real big injuries here. Justin, any notes on the Pelicans?
No, nothing too much. I mean, Zion's had a monstrous role. Her's been just killing guys defensively. This has been one of the better teams in the league as of late, like post All-Star break. So they've been rolling. 6.5 point favorites. I went down after the injury report. I think they were 7.5 before. So I think the market was maybe expecting Kawhi to pop up on the injury report and him being cleared and on there, move the line a little bit. But yeah, I mean, not too much to add on the Pelicans side for me.
Yeah, just Zion. I want to highlight Zion. Pull up my article here. So I went again. What's with me and Zion, man? I'm like the anti Stephen A. Smith. I just can't get enough Zion. I cover played him today. Really like the matchup and really like the role more than anything else. In his last 3 games, only SGA has driven more than him. He is driving like crazy. We talked about 4 or 5 games ago, Brandon Ingram like stole the handling role. Zion's got it back. He's first in handling on the team. He looks great. The rebounding's up. The blocks are up. He looks super good. How many minutes could we get at Zion? They're on a front end, but as you mentioned, they need this game. If they want to have any chance at the 4 seed, they got to get this one. So maybe we see like a 37-38 out of Zion. We don't really see it very often. But if there's a game where they're going to play Zion a bunch, I think it's this one. So I really like the spot for him. Their defense has been insane. That's certainly the story. And the Clippers' defense prior to last night has been really bad. Going into last night, they were 25th since the break. So I expect the Pelicans to bounce back from a really bad game against the Cavs on Wednesday.
All right, let's move to Atlanta.
Actually, one more thing. If I can. The last time they played the Clippers, Joe Bell got cut. He only played 11 minutes. So
he had a calf contusion. That's why he didn't return in the second half.
Okay.
Yeah,
there was another game when he got cut down. That's right. That's my bad.
Yeah. So I think he played. There's 3 games. He missed the second half with a calf contusion last game. He played 22 minutes 2 games ago, and then 28 minutes the third game earlier in the season. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. My bad.
Yeah,
I should look that up.
Right.
Well, there was one game they cut him down, and they hit. What was the game he played like 6 minutes and got cut down? The Pacers game when they went small. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So I got my wires crossed. Right. Thanks for the correction.
Yeah.
Atlanta and Utah, last game of the slate to talk through. Atlanta's injury report very, very full here. Obviously without Sadiq Bey and Trae Young and Onyeka Okongwu and the other Mohamed Gueye. AJ Griffin also still listed out. Can't break things even with all these guys down. Jalen Johnson questionable though. That's the good news. Right ankle sprain. He was doubtful last game. Upgraded to questionable this game, and then Bogdanovic questionable with an illness. Justin, what are your notes and expectations here for the Hawks?
I think Jalen is back tonight. The interesting note is that if he can return and play today, he'd still have a chance to be eligible for the Most Improved Player award. So he'd have to play every game left in this regular season to get to 65. But this is just kind of a milestone thing for him. And things have kind of been trending in this direction. He's been ramping up, upgraded doubtful last game, upgraded questionable this game. So would think he goes. Curious to see if you guys think he'll be capped at all in terms of minutes. I think I didn't put him full. Obviously they're super short. I think I have him at like 33-ish or something, or like, lower 30s, but I'll need to kind of go back and take another look at that. Obviously they don't have a lot of bodies right now. But yeah, Bogdanovic, had that illness last game, was probable, ended up playing 34 minutes. He's questionable now. That seems more like a precautionary tag to me. Obviously it was kind of impacted by last game, went 3 for 15 from the field, didn't look quite like himself. But I mean, this is just a team that's super decimated right now. That surprise started Wesley Matthews in the year 2024 last game. So this is just going to be either way, like the DeJounte Murray show. I mean, just an insane role as of late, big minutes, 43 minutes. I mean, just everything you kind of ask for in this spot. He kind of checks all the boxes. So one of the best kind of overall plays overall spots today. So love DeJounte again, even if Jalen Johnson's back.
So if Jalen starts, and should note, Jake Fisher from Yahoo, he said that there's optimism on Jalen Johnson returning. That's like the only thing. There's like nothing from the Hawks with like how he's been warming up. I got nothing. But Fisher wrote this huge article on Jalen Johnson, so he's pretty sourced, and he's pretty legit anyways. So just wanted to note that before I talk to DeJounte. I'm curious if Veit starts, right? Because Veit started when he was the quote unquote placeholder for DeAndre Hunter, and I'm not even going to go there on the DeAndre Hunter starting. That bit is dead if they're going to start Wesley Matthews over him. Do they start Wes again? Do they start Garrison Matthews? Like I kind of don't think Vit's locked in, so we kind of like hedged a little bit there because Vit's a 4, and he's been like subbing in as a 4, and even before all this. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they start Wes again and then start next to Jalen Johnson and bring in Veit behind Jalen Johnson. Do you have any thoughts there?
I think they start Veit at the 3 alongside Jalen.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the comments from their coaching staff when he's been asked about Veit. I mean, it's just been very glowing, and he's kind of done all that they've asked for. So, I mean, Veit's positionally flexible enough to start at the 3 there. So Wes is just, I don't know, break glass in case of emergency type. I don't think you want to be starting him if you don't have to. So I would lean just given the track record of him starting and him gaining the coaching staff's trust to be the favorite to start, even if Jalen's back in there.
Yeah. And then DeJounte, if I didn't cover boy him on Wednesday, I would have done it again. Worst transition defense in the NBA. They're the worst team at keeping things at half court. We know DeJounte is really good in the open floor. Last game, 11.4 minutes of touch time is absurd. 15 potentials. He ran terribly on those, only had 3 dimes. You mentioned the 43 minutes. It is. He's catching and shooting now. He is just absolutely wheels up. I was not gonna. He's a better cover boy candidate than Zion is today. I just didn't want to cover boy him again.
Yeah, the one thing that I'll note when you guys are talking through Jalen Johnson minutes that I'd be concerned about personally is that note that Justin had on the games played eligibility and for the most improved player award, and just maybe his timeline is getting pushed up a little bit just because there's still a chance. And so you could see some in-game management because of that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be concerned about it because the Hawks have been running things really tight. They still have plenty of things to play for in terms of, getting a home court in that play-in elimination game against the Bulls. That's looking very likely since they're 5 and 6 games back in the loss column of the 8 and 7 seeds, and they're 4 games up in the loss column on the 11 seed. So they have things to play for. That's why they've been playing guys tight. They also are thin on the roster, but I am a little bit worried that they still are in a position where they would be playing the long game with an injured player potentially, and they might be accommodating a request to try to get to be eligible for the award. So that I think it's more likely than not an issue, but it's enough of an issue that the downside, if it is an issue, is really big that you have 100%, to be concerned about.
100%. There's aggravation risk as well. I want to kind of talk through this a little bit more because I think this is the most interesting talking point on this Hawks team today is where his range realistic,
especially no weight slop.
Exactly right. So, what do you think his range of minutes is? Obviously, there's outliers, but his realistic range is it like 28 to 36?
We're assuming he's in the starting lineup, right? I think if he's not in the starting lineup and he's active, that's a huge red flag, obviously. But if he's in the starting lineup, I'd say I think his range is probably like 27 to 36, something like that. It's pretty wide. I would be surprised to see 38 out of the gate, but Quinn's not shy, so it's possible. But I'd put the realistic range at 27 to 36.
Can I also ask, do you guys have any kind of theories of why we got the Wesley Matthews spot start over DeAndre Hunter last game?
They just don't want to start him.
Gallagher has been trying to get DeAndre Hunter in the starting lineup for 3 weeks now on every time the Hawks play.
More than that.
And every time Quinn Snyder's got other ideas. The one off the map idea, Wesley Matthews returned to Portland. Maybe it was maybe get him a start there as well. No, the farewell tour, get him a chair as he's going on a retirement tour.
I'm stretching to logically explain Wes Matthews starting in 2024. I don't think there's a lot of rationale that makes a ton of sense there.
Actually, one thing I'll add though, with the Bogdan, I'm a little bit more concerned than you are. Vince Snyder was about it after the game because he played really bad.
Yeah,
he's like, oh yeah, he's I don't want to make excuses for him. Bogdan he was clearly ill, and then got the Q tag downgrade from a probable tag. And as I mentioned, man, illnesses this year have been really affecting players. So I won't be surprised if maybe West starts for him. There.
Yeah.
Would keep so yeah. I would without weight swap. Honestly, I wouldn't be playing Bogdan, but I would certainly be playing DeJounte.
Do you think there's like, I don't know, kind of talking through this because we're talking through this Hawks roster. Obviously, they're super decimated right now without Trey, without all these guys. Jalen, we talked through the potential of him maybe being a little limited, maybe this like award thing being a factor. We're talking about Bogdan Bogdanovic potentially being limited or not even playing altogether because of this illness. Where's the kind of up? Is it DeAndre Hunter? Like we kind of want to talk through, okay, with all this downside, they have a lot of guys who are not high usage guys. There's a lot of role players left on this team if you take out Bogdanovic, right? It's just like DeJounte, DeAndre Hunter, and everybody else, right? So Clint Capella, we've seen his usage get up there a little bit in recent games. So kind of just thinking through where that upside would kind of, matriculate to on this roster.
Yeah, Capella and Hunter are the first two guys that you would think of. And then if you're thinking of like a minutes upside or a puntish play, I would take shots at Garrison Matthews before Vit, just because Garrison Matthews actually, will take some more shots than Vit. But Vit, they're comfortable playing him. So I mean, these guys are min price. You could run into 20, 25 if Bogdan's out, if they're not starting Hunter, if Jalen is a captain in any way, shape, or form. But really, if they're without Bogdan in the first unit, everything's going to run through DeJounte and Capella and Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, and I'll add two things. One, just play DeJounte. Like Chris Dunn's out. They've got literally no on-ball defenders on the roster. And two, what was I going to say? So I think Jalen Johnson, who we saw him play a lot of small ball 5, right? I think that's off the table. They just have such a lack of forward depth that I think that the Capella Bruno stuff will still cover 48. So the matchup's not as good for them as it is for the guards. But from a minutes perspective, I think Capella is pretty much unaffected by Jalen Johnson returning. From a minutes perspective, from a usage perspective, he's obviously is.
Yep. Okay. Utah side of things, Gallagher, you mentioned no Chris Dunn. He's out due to rest. No Jordan Clarkson. He's out due to a right growing strain. Taylor Hendricks is questionable here as well. And Lauri Markkanen remains out with the right quad contusion. Darius Baisley, who they signed last week and said he might be available, then clarified he wasn't going to be available, is out due to G League assignment. That put us on watch for a hot 30 minutes where we were like, oh God, what's this Darius Baisley's available stuff? Thankfully, they clarified that before the game. Gallagher, what are your expectations on Taylor Hendricks' availability tonight and what things look like for Utah as they're down a lot of depth just generally?
A lot of guard depth.
Guard depth. That's why I'm unsure how they handle it. Do they move Bryce to the bench? There was commentary from Will Hardy saying they want to kind of build a chemistry between Keontae and Bryce in the first unit. I kind of don't think that happens, but they got no guards. So how many minutes are we getting out of Keontae George? We've seen him touch 40 before that Miami game. He might play. We have the little emojis in our Slack. Whenever someone wants to up in the minutes, we'll give him the Tibbs face. If they want to pull him down, we give him the Hardy face. We might have to delete that Hardy because he's starting to play his guys a lot. Obviously, the matchup's really good. Better for Sexton, who has a little more downhill game. He could play a bunch. So yeah, I mean, getting into this game, this is just ultimate. So expecting huge minutes out of Sexton, Keontae George. I think Bryce Sensabaugh has maybe a chance at 30. We got Taylor Horn Tucker in the mix.
Yeah,
we're bringing in Johnny Juzang. There was some commentary a few games ago. These earned some playing time. Comments from Will Hardy saying that Mike Kapadas earned some minutes, and they want him to shoot the 3, and they like his size, so he's going to probably play. It's kind of just tight rotation here against a Hawks defense that has been better. Still, I think that there's just this game is just it's the Mike Gallagher bad basketball game of the night. We don't really have any of the game with two bad teams on there. So this is my jam.
Yeah, you just got to jam the guards in the game. DeJounte and Sexton and Keontae George. They're gonna have to play like Juzang and THT. Sensabaugh might slide up. Just have so many 3s and 4s on this team now that just given where they're at, today with the lack of guard depth, they're just gonna have to play bigger and slide guys up out of necessity. Which
do you have anything on I was trying to find stuff on Hendricks. So he has turf toe. That's pretty severe. So I kind of think he might. It's back to back as well. But maybe they plan today, sit tomorrow. I couldn't find anything. Did you?
No. The random Q tag upgrade for the Jazz has generally been a decent sign that they're going to play. So I'm kind of operating the assumption that we do see him tonight, probably 60-40. But like you said, back to back, he's been out, a little bit here with that turf toe. Wouldn't surprise me either if he sat. So I don't have a ton of super confident read on him today.
Yeah. Then I'll have just the roll from Keontae has been really strong. Pick and roll handling's way up here. The Hawks actually are pretty good defending that, but it's more of from like a play type standpoint, it's more of a Sexton than to Keontae. But Keontae's role is just so good, and he has a way bigger minute ceiling to me than Sexton does.
I think that might change though with this situation. I mean, it's certainly we've seen it more from Keontae, but they're just so shorthanded. And Sexton is his ceiling has largely been impacted by Clarkson, right? Like, how many times do you want to be playing Sexton, Clarkson, George all together? So I think you could just see them both have really, really outrageous ceilings tonight, depending on how comfortable Will Hardy is with, Kyra Lewis or Talen Horton-Tucker and getting into that group as well. But it's thin on guards just generally.
And then as I was kind of alluding to, I think just because you're so short on guards, this is what I was saying with Sensabaugh, do you just start big? And you have Walker Kessler start, John Collins at the 4, just to give your front court depth. You're basically giving your front court depth to help your back court depth that way. So I think that's kind of on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, certainly. I'm not gonna throw out any sort of Will Hardy lineup combination because we've seen every single iteration really thrown at the wall this season. So
December was crazy.
Yeah, when surprised me, but love the Sexton spot a lot. I think he's gonna have a massive game today. John Collins' revenge, I think, is a little thin against Atlanta. But
he airballed last time. We scored 5 points.
Yeah. I mean, we're grasping here. We're trying to vamp.
You gotta get into an hour. How are you doing? How you holding up, man? I was saying yesterday that I feel great, man. This is I usually say St. Patrick's Day I'm cooked. Like, oh God, just get me to the end. This year I feel actually really good. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's been all right. It's kind of flown by for sure. I feel like so. Another month left of the regular season, and then playoffs are, where things we get to kick our legs up a little bit. So
yeah. Don't worry, Gallagher. There's 3 14 or more game slates coming up in the next month. So don't worry, you'll feel burnt out in no time.
No doubt.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, please support the people who are supporting us. So check out Underdog Fantasy and all the great contest offerings that they have going on over there. I know for our team, we're starting to put together our playoff best ball rankings. So for subscribers, date release to be determined. We started kind of putting some intense work on the side on that. I'm guessing we're within a 10-day to 2-week release date period right before kind of end of March, give you a few weeks leading up. But those contests are already going. The dance, the little dance. You've got the pick'em games going. You guys opened up in North Carolina on the sports betting side. Justin, what else am I missing to promote for Underdog?
You got all the hits there, my guy.
Beautiful.
Free agency with NFL has been keeping us busy the last couple of days. It's been freaking crazy. We got the surprise Aaron Donald retirement this morning. So been keeping us on our toes. So I think we're firing on all these different sports. So still a fun time.
Love to hear it. All right, and then if you want to support us, the best way to do so is to subscribe to our YouTube page. We are in pursuit of 5,000 subscribers by the end of this NBA season. So please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to get notifications as well. If you are enjoying our free content, you can check out our premium content at establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA, where you can find more details on all of our premium offerings. Today, behind the paywall will be myself and Sam Jaffarinia talking through the good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian plays, the leverage plays, the flag plants, and of course, since it's behind the paywall, all the dick talk you can handle as we break down Toronto's rotation tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern, myself and Sam Jaffarinia. If you are enjoying this free content and want to keep it free, the best way to do so is to smash that like button and help feed that algorithm. You feed the algorithm, it helps feed our families. It allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need to set your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. Have a great weekend, everybody.